50 writers polled by Newsweek, not one of them thinks the president will win. 50 for Dewey, 0 for Truman. Dewey will win by a landslide. Listen, Harry Truman is a wild accident of history, entering the White House only by the death of the immortal Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Morning, Mr. President. Have a nice walk?
Good morning, Clark. Morning, Charlie.
Morning, sir.
Well, another busy day, Ed.
Yes? What's it say, Clark?
What does what say?
That Newsweek magazine you just hid under your jacket.
Well,
Come on, give it here.
yes, sir.
When the press quits abusing me, I know I'm in the wrong queue.
Sorry, sir.
Well, don't you be sorry. You leave that to these so-called experts. I know all 50 of these fellas. Not one of them's got sense enough to pound sand down a rat hole.
What about the speech for today, Mr. President?
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. I came to you because our country is in dire trouble. I'm here on a serious mission, and because it is so serious, I propose to speak to you as plainly as I can. Instead of a recession after the war, we have more jobs than ever before. No riots, no bloodshed, no workers crying for jobs, no farmers starving, no veterans starving in the streets. Why? Because we took care of them. But the polls in the newspapers say you want to change all that. Well, I tell you, I just wonder how many times you have to be hit on the head before you figure out who's hitting you. It is your future we're fighting for. I must have your vote.
Dear Bess, the general trend seems to be I'm a very small man in a very large place. All the smart boys seem anxious to get rid of me, including my own party. Sometimes I ask myself, why would any man in his right mind want to be president of the United States? I know you never wanted to be the wife of a politician, but here you are, hitched onto a wild ride through history. And sometimes I wonder, will you ever forgive me? Mrs. Wallace, thought I'd take Bess for a drive. Is she here?
I'm back here in the kitchen.
If you're coming in, wipe your feet.
Yes, ma'am.
Where'd he get the money? To buy an automobile? It must have cost a fortune.
Couple of thousand. We're in the war, Harry. A lot of money out there for the smart boys.
Oh, hello, Harry. What are you doing off the farm? Can't be Sunday. Don't hear any bells.
Ridiculous. Driving a car when they're missing payments at the bank.
Look at you. You got some new scheme on your mind. What is it this time?
Well, I just had the idea in my mind that we could take a little drive out in the country.
Don't try to lie, Harry. You don't have the face for it.
It's hard for me to talk here.
She can't hear us.
signing up.
For what?
The Army. We're in the war. Didn't you read the president's speech? It is a fearful thing to lead this great, peaceful people into the most terrible and disastrous of all wars.
You're 33, Harry. They don't even draft men that age. Besides, you're blind as a bat.
That man has courage. They're gonna need every man they can get.
You've never been in a fight in your life. You don't even like guns.
Well, no matter how old, blind, or untried I might be, I can't stay home and be a slacker.
Well, what about your sister and your mother? Have you asked them? Have you told them?
They'll get along without me. And besides, the war can't last that much longer now that America is in the fight.
You're serious.
Yes, I am.
You are more stubborn than a Missouri mule, and you got just about as much sense. Reckon we ought to get married, don't you?
What?
But don't try to talk. I know you're too amazed.
Jesus Christ and General Jackson. All these years, I have waited to hear those words. You think buying an engagement ring on borrowed money might be bad luck?
I need an engagement ring. We're gonna get married. Let's do it now.
We can't, Bess.
I won't let Mother stand in our way anymore.
No. I don't mean that. You mustn't tie yourself to a man who might not come back.
Don't say that.
I don't know. I can't do that to you.
You're gonna be all right, Harry. And I'm gonna be right here when you get home.
Put out that damn cigarette, O'Hare. You know better than that. Get back to work.
Yes, sir.
Soldiers, you can sleep tomorrow. Let's get these guns online.
Stay down! Help! Hold your position! Stay down!
Get down! Get those steel pots on! Move it!
Hold your position!
Come on!
Get back to your position!
Stay down! Stay down! Stay down! Battery commander's down! Move out! Come on, O'Reilly! Come on, Truman, coming!
Get back to your position! You spineless, Irish sons of bitches! We gotta get this up to the line!
Dear Bess, Battery D had their first taste of battle. Nobody was killed or hurt, so the men say I'm lucky, and nothing can touch me. I was scared green like everybody else, but I'm not letting them in on that little secret. Another fine day with news the war will be over soon. Not soon enough for you and me. German 105. Corporal, calling these coordinates. Tell them to stand by for a fire mission.
Grid. 5, 8, 7, 2, 4, 6.
What are we doing here? We're behind their lines. This is the 28th Division sector. We're at our sector.
Oh, Jim, you think we ought to let those boys in the 28th get blown all to hell because it's not in our sector?
It's standing order, Captain. It's the Colonel's standing order. It's a sure court-martial, Captain. They can see the German gun. They're setting in.
Tell them to hold fire.
Hold your fire.
Sure pity the farmers got to plow this field after the war.
You going back to farming after the war, Captain?
I can think of better ways to make a living than looking up a mule's ass, Corporal. Tell the gunners to fire at will.
You said you were gonna hold fire.
I just had to wait for the Germans to lead the horses away.
All right, well.
Don't cheer, boys. Poor bastards are dying. Bess Wallace is the only woman I ever wanted to marry. Ever since I first saw her in Sunday school in the 4th grade. Today, you all share my dream come true.
Morning, Harry. Ready to face the bright new day? Sis still sawing logs upstairs?
Morning, Fred. Grandmother Gates. Vienna. Mother Wallace.
Get Mr. Truman his breakfast, Vieta. He must not be late to his place of trade.
Hey! Lieutenant Pendergast. Oh, let's get back to Jim and Harry, Eddie.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Harry! You come in here asking for Captain Truman. It's a loan they're after. If it's whereas Harry, we sold a silk shirt.
Looks like Battery D's private clubhouse in here.
Pendergast.
Corporal! George!
Hey, Chuck, this is your last round here now. You get on home to your family. Don't let them sucker you in. You'll go home in a barrel. How are you, Jim?
I'm good, Harry. So tell me, having slogged through hell to make the world safe for democracy, are you happy being a haberdasher?
Well, yes, I am. I'm very happy. Are you happy being a hack for Boss Tom Pendergast?
He'd like to meet you, Harry.
Well, I don't think so. What does he want with me?
Most people don't ask that question.
Yes, I know they don't. And if they're not careful, Tom Pendergast becomes their real good friend.
Well, that's one view. But listen, Harry, he's got a good heart for the people. I told him about you.
Well, Jim, look, neither I nor my daddy had any luck at farming. And the farmer needs luck, like he needs rain and a crazy banker. I believe luck has finally come our way.
Thank you, Vieta. That was delicious.
Hey, sis. You hear about your husband's veterans reunion? There was a brawl. They called the cops. Harry paid the bail and all the damages to the hall.
I'm delighted his business allows him such extravagance, Bess. If things are going so well, I suppose he could invest the money in a house.
Well, anyway.
Hold your tongue, Fred. Think you said enough?
Hey, if you're doing so good, maybe you need a good man down at the store.
He's not thinking of moving elsewhere, is he?
No. Not right now, Mother.
Now, what does that mean, not right now?
I wouldn't mind working with a Jew.
I would appreciate a little warning if you make plans. We ought to clear the table.
Boys, we're just having a good time.
Oh, I know.
Got a little out of hand, that's all.
Mother has got to get used to me being married. She depends on me. But we're not gonna live here forever.
Banks fail as post-war boom times go bust and financial panic spreads. With factories closing, the unemployed go hungry, and ex-workers line up to trade their votes for food.
You have your voter registration in hand. Hey! Hey, you men, get back inside! No more handouts!
$35,000. How do we get so much in debt? We've got to file for bankruptcy.
People trusted us enough to give us credit. I'm not going to make them pay for my failure.
It wasn't us that failed, it was the whole damn country.
I can't take bankruptcy.
Well, then how can I? So much hope. What are you gonna do?
I don't know, Eddie. Shot.
Can I ask you something? 5 years we spent more time together than with our wives. And all that time, you never had Bloom and me to dinner at your house.
No, we didn't.
Is there a reason for that? Bess doesn't like Bloom? Or is it because we're Jewish?
No. I don't think so. I like Bluma.
Oh, sorry.
Nobody except family comes to the Wallace home. And not many of them.
He's at his iron. You're well respected, Harry. A veteran, an honest businessman.
Never heard Boss Tom had much use for honesty.
Tom's got a use for everything.
You take this to Billy Fiddler. He'll fix you up.
If he writes in black, it means do what you can.
Stay off that damn bottle.
If he writes in red, it means just do it. Uncle TJ. This is Captain Truman.
How come everybody likes you so damn much?
3,465 simoleons per annum.
How can he be a judge? He has no education in law.
Not a law judge, Mother. More a county commissioner. You'd be one of three, right, Harry?
If I got elected?
One of Boss Tom's boys.
Tom Pendergast is a common thief.
Well, I don't intend to be a thief. I made it clear that if I ran...
You know my opinion. Politics cheapens a man.
Mother, please don't.
Mr. Wallace had no trouble in his life till he ran for public office.
Well, a man has to keep his head Not breathe the hot air and avoid the graft.
You think you're special enough to survive influences that have weakened and destroyed others with far more qualities than you? What'd I say?
Excuse me. Bess? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to set her off. I just got to make a decision. With the star going under and the baby coming.
They found it in the bathtub.
Bess.
The bullet, when my father killed himself, the bullet went through his head. They found it in the bathtub.
Don't, Bess. Don't. Bess, listen to me. I've got to pay off the store debts. I've got Mother and Mary Jane to take care of, as well as us here. I think I can do this. I think I'm strong enough to handle it.
I know you are.
I don't want you to have to worry. And if you really don't want me to run, I won't.
I knew this young man before he was born. Farmer, businessman, veteran, and the next Eastern Judge of Jackson County, Captain Harry S. Truman.
Thank you. Thank you. Like to thank all the boys from Battery D for coming out today. Beautiful day. I'm now going to tell you what I stand for and why you should vote for me.
Ain't much of a speaker, is he?
Men are for him.
He only needs one man for him.
Firstly, I am for good roads. And the best part of it is, no farmer will be more than 2 miles from a good road. Here's Tom. Just tell him about it. Now, believe me, I know firsthand what being near a good road means to a man who's trying to get his crop to market. Did a little work on the map here to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. I'm gonna need the support of both of you.
I think Judge Truman and I have the same question.
Well, the answer is it'll cost $6.5 million. We'll take it to the people and raise it with a bond issue.
Well, I don't think that's the question that Judge Barr and I had in mind.
$6.5 million, they'll just say I want to steal it.
Nobody's gonna steal anything. Contracts go only to legitimate low bidders who can do the job. Now, all three of us have to approve it to get the bond issue on the ballot. Can I count on your support?
Judge Barr, Judge Truman, right back to town with me. Frank, you see if Judge Truman will give you a lift.
All right. What's the matter, Judge? Didn't you get what you wanted?
A little too easy. You're one of Tom's boys. You tell me what happened here.
Nothing. Roads are good. They're made of concrete. Good choice. Tom's got a concrete company.
Margie, if only I were John D. Rockefeller, I'd make this county the world's paradise. Want you in? Maybe maybe I can also buy her her own crib.
Margaret's not complaining. Get over here. Turn out the light. Harry?
If you think Barr and Truman are embezzling county funds, why don't you go see them?
Well, I saw them. They said just what I thought they'd say. They passed the buck. They said, go see Tom.
You know what's the cardinal sin? Disloyalty. Politics is the business of friends.
Well, does that mean I'm supposed to let your friend steal $10,000?
10,000? Is that what this yelling is about?
I don't care if it's 10,000 or 10 million. Tom, I told you when I agreed to run, I wasn't going to stand for any monkey business.
You will stand for what I tell you.
No, sir. I don't work for you. I work for the people of this county.
You keep believing that, you'll be back selling church going broke.
Don't you threaten me. I'll go to the damn poorhouse if I have to.
You see what a stubborn son of a bitch you brought into this organization? He don't even like money. So, what are you gonna do?
Well, it's the taxpayers' money. They might like to read about who's getting it.
You do that, the bond issue won't pass, your roads won't get built.
I'll take that chance.
No chance to it. It'll happen. Now, are you gonna be righteous and save the county $10,000? Are you gonna give it $6.5 million worth of good roads, not one of them more than 2 miles away from a farm?
That's the choice you're giving me.
That's the choice you gave yourself.
Harry, what's the matter?
Sons of bitches, Truman and Barr are thieves. They're stealing money from the road fund. Barr is worse than that. He's an adulterer. Man who can't be loyal to his wife and family, can't be trusted anywhere.
Get Tom to fire him.
Oh, I told him what they're doing. He knows. He doesn't care.
Listen to yourself, Harry. Getting yourself all tied up in knots.
Hell, am I any better than them? Put my own drunken brother-in-law on the public payroll just to keep peace in the family.
I didn't ask you to do that. You made the choice to go into politics, and I said I'd support you. But if this is what it's going to do to you, I won't support you.
I dove into a cesspool.
Quit.
Can't farm. Failed at business. Can't dance. Don't sing. I have to let no account sons of bitches steal so that I can do something that needs doing. Does that make me just another crook? Or just another politician?
An historic bond issue passes and an ambitious new road program is born. Judge H.S. Truman, whose baby this is, beams like a proud papa as construction begins.
Contractors, my friends are very angry. I'm told that even Pendergast Concrete had to submit a bid.
Ain't you heard yet? Ain't you heard he's the stubbornest, contrary Missouri mule this side of the Mississippi? Ain't you heard about my boy Truman?
Love her pa. You'll even love your mother-in-law if you use Burma shave.
Mama said they're not gonna let you be judge anymore.
Well, 2 terms is all they let you have. I'm gonna have to get another job.
Didn't you plant trees along here?
The farmers cut them down for firewood.
No.
What kind of job?
Well, I don't know, Miss Skinny. Tom, I've been thinking about something, and I want to talk to you about it. I gave this county sewers, a decent courthouse, and $6.5 million in new roads. Not all Pendergast concrete, but a hell of a lot of it. When your people made a fair bid. Now, I am damn good at what I do. And you know it, or you would have got rid of me years ago. Tom, there is so much more to be done. What I did for the county, I want a chance to do for the state as governor.
Harry, what happened with Tom?
Tom doesn't think I'm heavy enough for the job. I don't belong in the major leagues.
After all you've done for this county, after all his talk about loyalty,
Tom's loyal to his pocketbook. Every damn racehorse in Missouri.
can you run without him?
50 years old, no money. I'll go out of office poorer than when I went in. Don't even have my own house. There's no way I can run without him.
Well, I'm glad. You'll be your own man. We won't have to worry any more about what the boss thinks or wants or has in store for you. I don't care if you have to dig ditches.
Good girl.
Hey, Harry! Cut that damn motor off! Listen, Harry, I think I might have come up with something for you.
Well, that's damn decent of you, Tom. What is it, dog catcher?
How'd you like to run for the U.S. Senate? I got these 3 other fellas I asked. They couldn't do it for one reason or another. Got one more fella I can go to. I need an answer, Harry.
Well, Jesus Christ and General Jackson. The answer is yes.
Let's go.
Congratulations, Miss Truman.
Where are you going? This is for senators only.
Well, I am a senator from Missouri.
Let him in, Jimmy. Tis the real thing. Sam Rayburn. Vice President Garner here.
Well, of course. Harry Truman.
You look a little lost.
Well, I guess I am.
First 6 months, you wonder how you got here. And after that, you wonder how the hell the rest of these guys got here.
Hey, you and your wife find a place to live?
Bess went home to take care of family. Truth is, she didn't like it much in Washington.
Well, she'll get used to it. They mostly do.
Well, afternoon, gentlemen.
Well, Jimmy, there goes the honorable senator from Pendergast.
President Roosevelt, please. This is Senator Truman. Truman, senator from Missouri. What is it regarding? Tell the president that I'm not going to be pushed around like an office boy. I expect the consideration and courtesy the office of a senator is entitled to. Tell him if he wants to discuss my vote to call me not Tom Pendergast. Dear Bess, I've moved from the apartment you hated into a men's hotel that's a whole lot cheaper. So tell Miss Skinny I can raise her allowance back up to 50 cents. The nation's business doesn't seem to need much from the senator from Pendergast, but there are a few good friends of the working man at a regular poker game in Speaker Rayburn's office. They help me get through the nights and days when you are not here. The war in Europe is on all our minds. I'm afraid we're going to be in it. The only question is, how soon?
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. the United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
Such times demand giants, and America has them in abundance. General Dwight D. Eisenhower, chosen to lead our boys in Europe. General Douglas MacArthur, hero of the Pacific. And the General of Generals, George Catlett Marshall, Army Chief of Staff and Architect of Victory. With titans such as these, how can we fail to win?
I've put over 30,000 miles on the family Chrysler, visiting factories, army bases, anywhere we're supposed to be making arms and ammunition for the war. What I saw scared the dickens out of me. I saw waste.
One of you boys take me to the construction headquarters?
You're at it.
The little man being left entirely...
Well, when do you boys start working?
Hell, we've been here for 4 months now.
I am asking the Senate to investigate the National Defense Program and the way the government does business. Will you agree, sir, that a cost overrun of 1,000% is excessive?
Senator, there's a war on. We thought speed and volume were more important to the war effort than pinching pennies.
Well, that must be why you quadrupled your own salary. Now, your company knowingly sold defective...
Excuse me, Senator. I never said
Well,
knowingly.
we will find out who knew what knowingly before this committee is finished. Now, Mr. Perry, do you inspect your aircraft engines before you ship them out?
Yes, sir. We try.
And who reads those inspection reports?
They are reviewed by our executive committee.
So either your inspectors lied to you, or you are lying to us here today. Is that correct, sir? Why would your inspectors lie to you?
Senator, this word lying...
Do you know a better one? Well, I'll use the word fib if you like. It doesn't mean a damn to me. What does matter is that your engines failed. And the airplanes they powered crashed, and the young men that flew them died.
Senator, we are conducting an internal audit to find out the problem and be certain it never happens again.
You know, Jesse James had to get up early in the morning and risk his life to rob the Rock Island Railroad of $3,000. Now, you can see what a piker he was next to some fine gentlemen with their 3 secretaries and endless lawyers stealing millions. Now, I don't know anything about your line of work, sir. But I do know when there's a bunch of crookedness that's going on here. That is plain enough for me to see, sir. We'll take a short recess at this time.
There it is, everything you need.
Salus populi suprema est. Translate inside. The people's good is the highest law. Cicero's orations, Miss Ardelia Hardin's high school Latin. Will you excuse me, gentlemen? My old friend, Charlie Ross. Well, I heard you were here from the Post-Dispatch.
We'll have our school reunion in due time, Senator. Right now, I thought you ought to see this. Do you know anything about a project called Manhattan?
No, I don't.
Well, all I know is every time I've asked a question about it, I got a blank wall. What's more, people seem scared. I've been threatened. It's all in here. I want an exclusive story if it's real.
Okay, Charlie, I'll take a look. Now you're off duty. Bess is up from Independence. She'll have a fit when she finds out you're here and you haven't called. Maybe she'll still have you for dinner.
I'd like that, Senator.
Okay, Charlie, I gotta get back to work.
Sir, Secretary Stimson will see you now.
Afternoon, Mr. Secretary.
I've asked General Marshall to join us, Senator.
Senator? General, I've never forgiven you for turning me down.
Senator wanted to re-enlist after Pearl Harbor.
General pointed out that I was a little long in the tooth for...
I asked you to join us, General Marshall, because the Senator has some report about Manhattan. How did you get this information?
Well, that's privileged.
That is not. Sir, that envelope will be staying here with me in the office of the Secretary of War. The word Manhattan is not to be spoken anywhere. This is a war secret. So important, we can't even investigate you to find out how you learned of it. Now, if you believe what you say in your Senate speeches and your service in the war, you'll forget you ever heard the word Manhattan.
Investigator Truman, it is remarkable, says here, the transformation of Harry Truman from Pendergast errand boy, watch that stuff, to able, energetic committee chairman.
Truman is scrupulously honest. His only vices being poker and the occasional glass of bourbon.
What do they mean, occasional?
Now, you all just hush. I'm seriously worried about that man's hat size.
How do you like Washington, Miss Truman?
You mean except for the climate and the people? Well, Mr. Hannigan, I think like Harry. If you want a friend in Washington, get a dog.
Harry,
What about Manhattan? Is there a story in it?
It's just an island in New York, Charlie. No story at all. Ready?
Why was Bob Hannigan here?
He's Democratic Party chairman.
I know that. What does he want?
Well, they're looking for someone to run for vice president with Roosevelt. They want a vote-getter on the ticket.
Why? They can't possibly think Roosevelt could lose an election.
Well, he's already been president 12 years. There's a lot that believe that's too long. Vice President Wallace scares the hell out of people that think he's a communist.
Have they asked you?
Other possibilities are too liberal, too conservative, too Catholic, too old, too racist.
That's not what I asked you.
And I told him I'm happy where we are. I have no desire to be vice president. I mean it, and that's all there is to it.
Senator, did you accept the vice presidential nomination?
No, I do not want to be vice president. I'm perfectly happy in the Senate.
Mrs. Truman, wouldn't you like to see the senator help out the ticket?
He said no, and I believe him. He should too.
Look out, boys. He's the boss.
What about the draft, sir? Would you support the draft?
Harry.
There's a draft. Senator.
Harry, I've been waiting for it. Bob's got to talk to you.
I have already told Bob Hannigan all I've got to say, which is no, and to stop asking.
Please, Harry. He's on my back. He's waiting for you at the hotel.
All right, Frank. You take Bess and Margie inside. I'll meet you in there later.
All right, now, Jimmy here, take you on.
Sir, where are you going now?
Come on, let's go.
Let's go to you, sir.
Senator.
Help yourself to a drink, Harry.
I don't want to drink, Bob. What's this all about?
Tell him he's here. Well, it's very hot here, Mr. President. Are all the fellows there? Yes, Mr. President. We're all here, and we're all unanimous.
Marvelous. And that fellow Truman has agreed to be on the ticket.
No, sir. He's being stubborn as a Missouri mule. Would you like to talk to him, sir?
I most certainly would
Democratic Party in the middle of a world war, if he is so selfish as to put his own concerns ahead of his country, then it is all on his head.
I had no choice.
I mean, I didn't. Again.
Broadway goes wild. A roaring sea of frenzied humanity greets the news.
Commentator H.V. Keltenborn makes the dramatic announcement.
The results are now conclusive. Roosevelt wins.
The Roosevelt smiles of victory are clouded as fierce German counterattacks stall American troops, and the war grinds on in Europe.
And the scientists? Yes, General Groves. Just a moment, Senator.
Mr. Vice President.
Mr. Vice President. Sorry.
These fellows are filling me in on a couple of things, but I warn them they're not to interfere with our luncheon together.
Mr. Vice President.
General?
That committee of yours is worth 2 divisions to me.
Well, thank you, General.
Harry, take off your jacket. It's stifling today.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Well, there are many things that I want to discuss.
Your wife, is she enjoying Washington?
Talked about nothing. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. Couldn't even pour his coffee.
Anyone can see he's dying.
Don't say that.
No one will say it.
Dad, Mother, Charlie's here.
Tom Pendergast has passed away. If you like, I'll quietly slip your respects to the family.
When and where is the funeral?
Harry, the Vice President of the United States does not pay respects to a convicted criminal.
You don't know him, do you?
The press will crucify you. Damn it, you're not some county judge anymore. You're Vice President.
Well, I wouldn't be Vice President if it wasn't for Tom. Ingratitude, Charlie, it's a cardinal sin.
An era passes as Tom Pendergast, ruler of Missouri politics until federal charges of corruption sent him to jail, is laid to rest in private graveside ceremonies attended only by family and Vice President Harry Truman.
Don't know. Take a Rayburn? The Board of Education in session?
Take a few, Brother Truman.
Been to any funerals lately, Harry?
Well, the VP's only got 2 duties, Senator. Getting you no accounts prayed over every morning in the Senate, and God knows you need it, and going to funerals.
Just the same, it was a damn fool thing to do.
When Tom got out of prison, he was broke. Even his wife wouldn't speak to him. He never asked me for anything. He could have, but he didn't, so I paid him my respects as my friend. I'll drink to him. You don't have to.
The game is 5-card stud, eh?
Mr. Vice President, we're all looking for you, sir. Call 4545.
It's the White House.
Harry. The president is dead.
Mrs. Roosevelt, is there anything I can do for you?
Is there anything we can do for you? You are the one in trouble now.
Do we have a Bible?
There's one here someplace.
Well, find it, damn it. Till the oath is administered, this country is without a president.
Yes, sir. I found one.
Harry. Excuse me.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me, please. I, Harry Ship Truman.
I, Harry S. Truman,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God. I don't know if any of you ever had a load of hay fall on you, but right now I feel like the moon, the stars, and all the planets have fallen on me. Don't expect too much of me. With great humility, I call upon all Americans to help me keep our nation united in defense of those ideals so eloquently proclaimed by Franklin Roosevelt. I want, in turn, to assure my fellow Americans and all those who love peace and liberty throughout the world that I will support and defend those ideals with all my strength and with all my heart. At this moment, I have in my heart a prayer. As I have assumed my duties, I humbly pray, Almighty God, in the words of King Solomon, "Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. I ask only to be a good and faithful servant of my Lord and of my people.
Mrs. Roosevelt says it's haunted.
Hello. It's all right. Yeah.
Lord. Kick it.
Listen.
What?
There's Andy Jackson and Teddy Roosevelt arguing over Teddy's cousin Franklin. Jefferson and Lincoln talking about the new occupant. I can't hear myself, Bess.
You will. But it's gonna take a lot of Bon-Ami to make this place livable.
Well, that tricking in the floor, that's just the flower bars. Need to be nailed down tight to the joists, that's all. What this place needs is a good carpenter.
After all this time, our first, Harry. Our own house.
Charlie, Bess thinks you'd make a hell of a press secretary.
Oh, Jesus, no, Harry.
Well, you can't say no to Bess. I'm appointing Frank your secretary.
Secretary of what?
Just secretary. Franklin's staff all look at me like a skunk at a wedding. I need some Missouri around me real quick.
Mr. President, I hope you understand why it was necessary for me to...
You did your duty, as you understood it to be. You had no reason to trust me. Now, we don't have to like each other to work together. I'd prefer it if we did, but what will be necessary is that we trust each other. Now, I saw how you guarded the nation's interest, and I trust that.
Yes, I agree with that.
So let's stop all the bullshit and get down to business.
Dismissed. Within 4 months, the Manhattan Project will have completed the most terrible weapon in human history.
Well, how does it work? What's it made of?
It's an atomic bomb. It's made from uranium. By bringing together a few pounds of refined uranium in the right conditions, it spontaneously transforms itself into pure energy. It's the same process that powers the sun. It could vaporize an entire city instantly.
Do the Germans know about this?
We believe they tried to make one and failed. The Russians have no idea this exists.
Well, for God's sakes, let's keep them in the dark.
Mrs. Truman, what qualities do you think would be the greatest asset to the wife of the president?
Good health and sense of humor.
Do you think there'll ever be a woman president of the United States?
No.
Would you want to be president?
No.
Would you ever want Margaret to be First Lady?
No.
If you had a son, would you try to raise him to be president?
No.
Mrs. Roosevelt liked to meet with us once a week. How often will you be holding your press conferences, Mrs. Truman?
This will be my last one.
Well, how will we ever get to know you?
You don't need to know me.
Anybody know what day this is?
Well, I knew there was some plot going on. Well, I better start blowing before this old fire trap bursts into flames.
That's right.
Oh my God, it's a Republican!
Well, I'll take care of that rascal. I'll call in the Marines. Go on! Go on! There he goes. He's gone.
Your Marines ought to be elsewhere.
Make a wish, Dad.
Many, many more. Were you surprised?
Well, yes, I was. You got me.
Sweetheart, I think Margaret and I are gonna go home for the summer. It's not really good for her to be here in this goldfish bowl, and I'm of no earthly use to you.
Well, that is just not true.
Well, yeah, we'll be out of your way and you can get more work done. You know, Mother, she's already started her spring cleaning, and those storm windows, they gotta come down, and I gotta talk to that Walter Johnson man about painting the house and spring planting.
Well, I need you here.
Harry, you're in that office or in meetings 7 days a week, kissing and wheedling and kicking people to get them to do what they ought to do anyway. You don't need me for that. I wouldn't be good at any of it, even if anybody here ever listened to what a woman had to say anyway. I'm gonna get some napkins. I need to see the dogwood bloom. Not this dogwood. My dogwood.
It's all happened so fast. She needs time. She'll come around.
Yes.
Thank God. That's wonderful news. Thank you. I just wanted to say thanks for the delicious cake. I got plenty left here if anybody wants a piece. Oh, well, I didn't mean to interrupt your work here. I'll just leave it here for you.
I've cooked for every president since Mr. Coolidge. You're the first one since him ever came down here. He just came to make sure we weren't giving any food away.
I got a message a few minutes ago that, well, it was the best birthday present that I could ever have gotten. I think it might be on this radio here right now. Do you mind?
Official, the war in Europe is ended. Victory belongs to the Allies. This is Piccadilly Circus. Remember this place when it was completely empty and you read a newspaper from the light of the flares dropped by German bombers. You may hear an occasional bang.
My grandson is still in the Pacific.
Well, we're gonna get him home too. Just as fast as I'm able.
Thank you, sir.
Good night.
Good night.
With victory in Europe accomplished, President Truman arrives in Berlin to plan the post-war peace with Premier Stalin and Prime Minister Churchill.
There is not one piece of territory or one thing of a monetary nature that we want out of this war.
Немецкий флот – трофей выигранной войне. Англичане должны поделить его с Советским Союзом.
That issue will be discussed by our foreign ministers.
Если все вопросы будут решаться нашими министрами, что останется делать нам?
Romania, Bulgaria, you agree, Hungary, that these nations would have democratic
Если
governments.
правительство не фашистское, тогда оно демократическое.
Dear Bess, we are three old men walking in a graveyard planning a brave new world, and we're haggling like a bunch of old women. This head of mine should have been bigger and better proportioned. There ought to have been more brain and a larger bump of ego or something to give me an idea that can be a #1 man in the world.
Mr. President.
Manhattan, the baby is born.
We're in the Russian zone. The Russians prepared this house. I suggest we speak outside.
The first bomb will be ready by the end of the first week in August. The Japs know they're licked. Why won't they quit? Well, their strategy is to prolong the war, no matter what the cost, until we agree to let the Emperor stay on the throne.
They'll prolong it by any means necessary. They just will not surrender.
Some of the scientists who developed the bomb believe that it should never be used.
Is that so? Well, what the hell they think we built it for? We can't uninvent it, Henry. What about the idea of setting one off for the Japs to see? What happened to that idea?
Mr. President, I can only speak to the military question. We must use overwhelming force to crush the Japanese army, destroy their will to make war.
Press Secretary Ross?
Yeah.
The president would like to see you, sir.
It's pronounced Hiroshima. If you're going to remove it from the face of the earth, you ought to know how to say it.
I didn't call on you for cheap sarcasm, Charlie. I was hoping for common sense.
They're telling you how many dead?
Oppenheimer, the chief scientist for the bomb, says it might kill as many as 30,000 people. With regular weapons, the firebombing of Dresden killed 30,000 in one night. Tokyo is utterly gone, with almost everyone in it. They figure 100,000 dead there.
Seems to me if there is a moral point of no return, you've long since passed it.
If I don't drop the bomb, so many more of our young men will die in the invasion of Japan. They're men too, and women and children. How could I face the people when it's finally over and say that I had the power to possibly end the war long ago? Spare the lives of their loved ones, and I chose not to use it. How could I look them in the face and tell them that?
Harry, you didn't come to me for common sense. You came to me for forgiveness. Do what you have to do. I'll still be your friend. But this is changing the course of history. You clinched the victory in the Pacific. But you sow the whirlwind.
16 hours ago, an American airplane dropped an atomic bomb, letting loose the basic power of the universe on Hiroshima, an important Japanese army base, and it was totally destroyed. There has been no word from Japan, no sign of surrender. We have more of these bombs, and we will keep on dropping them. We will obliterate completely every productive enterprise the Japanese have above ground. We will destroy their docks, their factories, and their communications. We will completely destroy them. If they do not now accept our terms for surrender, they will get a rain of ruin from the air, the like of which has never before been seen on this earth.
We are gathered here, representatives of the major warring powers, to conclude a solemn agreement whereby peace may be restored. It is my earnest hope, and indeed the hope of all mankind, that from this solemn occasion, a better world shall emerge out of the blood and carnage of the past.
Oh, what a wonderful day. Well, that's a great hat. Miss Skinny.
Hi, Dad.
Everybody, the boss is up from Independence to make it official.
Here's your old-fashioned, ma'am. I had Alonzo fix it for you just the way you like it.
Well, thank you, Frank. The president and I don't like fruit punch.
That's right.
Oh, ooh, that's good. It's got a kick to it, like a Missouri mule.
Bourbon in it, a little ice, and a little more bourbon.
Ladies and gentlemen, a toast. Maybe once every 1,000 years, the human race gets a chance to start over. I believe we have been given that chance. I'm going to take the atomic power out of the hands of the military and talk to the scientists about how to use it for peaceful pursuits. Now, just think of it. If we don't make a mistake, what a paradise we could make of this world.
With the world at peace and our armies back home, weapons and ammunition no longer needed for war are dumped at sea or burned. Detroit turns out the first new automobile in 5 years on assembly lines that once produced tanks. With victory behind him, President Truman wastes no time bringing his programs to Congress.
Hello, Chuck. How are you?
Good to see you, Mr. President.
John, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Welcome, gentlemen and madam. The president has an announcement of special importance because of recent events in the South and elsewhere.
Thank you. Morning. We believe that all men are created equal and have the right to equal treatment under the law. Therefore, I have written an executive order to correct a great injustice and lay the foundation for civil rights laws that secure those rights to men of all colors and creeds in all places and at all times.
Damn it, why in God's name do they have to put niggers in with white boys in the army?
And into federal employment.
Gentlemen, the president has come down here to explain his views.
My family had Southern leanings and Southern feelings. I damn near joined the Ku Klux Klan. Tom Pendergast talked me out of it because the Klan was anti-Catholic. But when I hear the Negro soldiers we're sending out to fight and die for their country get dumped out of armored trucks and beaten in Mississippi, and mob gangs in Georgia shoot niggers and the law knows about it and does nothing, my stomach turns over. Whatever my inclinations as a native of Missouri might have been as president, I know this is bad. It is an evil of the worst kind. I'm gonna try to stop it, and that's all there is to it.
What beats me is how a man as smart as Franklin Roosevelt could make a damn failed haberdasher his vice president.
If we must grind up human flesh and bone in the industrial machine that we call modern America, we owe protection to those men first, and we owe the security for their families if they die. I say it, I voice it, I proclaim it, and I care not who in heaven or hell opposes it.
I am the representative of 140 million people. I cannot stand idly by, for they are caused to suffer by reason of the coal miners and the railroad men going on strike. I request Congress to authorize the president to draft into the Army all workers who are on strike against their government.
In Europe, one-time allies fall to communist aggression.
From Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic, an iron curtain has descended across the continent.
We're closer to war in Europe than at any time since 1939. If we recognize the Jewish state, the Arabs will attack. Jews don't have an army. We'll have to protect them. With what? We don't have the men, we don't have the weapons, and we can't take what we do have out of Europe.
And Stalin would view the creation of a Jewish state as a perfect opportunity to try and drive a wedge between Iran and the West.
Clark.
This is a foreign policy briefing, Mr. President. What is Clifford doing here?
He's the White House counsel. I asked him to be here, General.
Well, if you'll excuse me, sir, I believe Mr. Clifford's interest is in the Jewish vote.
Well, now, wait a minute. Let's just see what he has to say here. Clark?
No matter what the State Department or anybody else thinks, we are faced with the actual fact that there is to be a Jewish state. Recognition of that state would embody everything that this country represents. Not only the establishment of a friendly democracy in an unstable part of the world with no democratic tradition, but the creation of a safe haven for people whose suffering is so vast as to stupefy the human mind.
Well, George, he's right. And you're right. And Dean's right.
Well, sir, I must tell you that that if you allow politics to determine foreign policy, then were I to vote, I would vote against you in November. And I have nothing more to add to this. So. Excuse me.
Well, that was rough as a cub.
Let him resign. It's hard enough dealing with your friends. Why put up with open rebellion?
Harry? What are you doing here on Saturday?
For your desk. Got it from a fella in Texas.
The buck stops here. How about that?
That's right. And I got another surprise for you.
Eddie Jacobson.
How are you, Harry?
Good.
Oh, you're looking well.
You too. Sit down, sit down. How's the family?
Well, Paid off the last claim from my share of the store last year. We're fine, Harry.
Good, good.
Mr. President. Some people have asked me to talk to you. Great people. Great Jews. Who are building a homeland in Palestine.
Yes, well, I've already spoken out on that.
Well, we know you're under great pressure from some powerful interests.
Well, the Zionists have been in here making their case, and the more I say I'm for them, the more pressure I get. They can't take yes for an answer.
It's not a thing to joke about.
Well, of course it's no joke. You don't have to tell me that. I'm about to lose the support of the one man in government the world needs most over this single issue.
The issue is Arab oil and Jewish blood.
Oil? You think that's what I care about?
Big business. Low gas prices, Jewish blood. Now, where's the right and wrong in that?
Eddie, you know me. I will make a decision when I'm ready, and it'll be my best bet. But not everybody's gonna like it. Doesn't it have a name?
It's supposed to be penciled in.
Yes, well, it's not here. Do I have to, can I just write it in here, or does it have to be typewritten?
Just write it in.
With my pen, Mr. President.
State of Israel. Eddie.
Harry, God put you in your mother's womb for this moment.
Mark. General Marshall. I'm sorry we disagreed, General. Dear Bess.
Harry?
Your sister called. Mama was alive when there were still slaves in the United States. Sent her son off to the war that was supposed to end all wars. She saw the birth of the atomic age.
Come on.
Bess, I'm not going to run for another term. I'm going to do what I think needs doing and finish it out, and then we'll come home for good like you always wanted.
When are you gonna stop making promises you can't keep? You'll run. You'll have to.
According to who? Not the Democratic Party. I thought this would please you.
Well, you can please me by stopping thinking you can read my mind. You'll run, 'cause you have to be president in your own right. You know that. If you quit now, just like it's been all an accident. Roosevelt dying before his time. And I'm not gonna live out my days watching some old man sit around thinking he was nothing but an accident.
How are you? Good to see you. How are you? Good to see you.
You did the advance work, Vassar. Where's the crowd?
What crowd? It's a reunion, family only. Look at Harry. He's like a kid.
This is the President of the United States. He's making an important speech. It's an election year.
You don't like the way I do things? Take it up with the boss.
All right.
Say hello to the boss.
boss's boss.
Take your seats. The children of Europe will die in greater numbers than in the war unless we immediately undertake her economic recovery. With the Marshall Plan, we will be the first great nation in all the history of the world to feed and support our former enemies as well as our friends.
That on next January 20, there will begin in Washington the biggest unraveling, unsnarling, untangling operation in our nation's history.
Election year gathers momentum with Republicans solidly behind Governor Dewey. President Truman's popularity plummets, and party leaders look to heroes of the war to replace him.
I am a soldier. I belong to the Army. And the Army is truly national. It lives to serve the nation and nobody else, no party.
The convention begins in chaos and infighting.
The South will not be crucified on a cross of civil rights. This is a naked effort to reduce the white man to a mongrel race. We'll nominate our own candidate and bid Harry-ass Truman and the Democrat Party farewell.
Ballot after ballot, the search for a new leader of the demoralized Democrats goes far into the night.
Television. Coast to coast. First time ever. Not that anyone's gonna see you at 2 o'clock in the morning. Damn party's on some kind of suicidal jag. It's crazy.
Truman, 947 1/2.
Maybe I can wake them up.
Democratic nominee for President of the United States. To a new and a greater destiny, President of the United States, Harry S. Truman.
I just want to say that for the next 4 years, there's going to be a Democrat in the White House. You're looking at him. We will win because we are right and they are wrong. The do-nothing Republican Congress, the worst in history, say they are for education, civil rights, health insurance for everybody who's sick, housing for the working man, low taxes. All the things that I sent up to them and which they refuse to pass. Well, if they are for these things, I'm going to give them a chance to prove it. I am therefore calling this Congress back into session on the 26th of July, and if the Republicans really mean what they say, they can prove it by passing the legislation we gave them.
This is H.V. Kaltenborn speaking from the New York studios of the National Broadcasting Company. While Governor Dewey barely bothers to campaign, President Truman is on a whistle-stop crusade begging for votes wherever he can find them.
This is your fight. I'm just waking you up to the fact that it is your fight. You better get out there and help me win this fight, or you're going to be the loser, not I. This Republican Congress has already stuck a pitchfork in the farmer's back. It's a sad tale of the sellout of the people to these gluttons of privilege. These cold men who skim the cream from our natural resources to satisfy their own greed. You cannot afford to waste your vote this year. I must have your help. The country cannot afford another Republican Congress.
President so-and-so. Authoritative sources say the Democratic Party is short of money and all...
Yes, why are we stopping?
Hey! This train's not moving, so we get paid up in cash.
You'll get paid. We got people waiting for the president up ahead. What's the matter with you anyway? You ought to be honored to be driving this man's train.
Bullshit. This is the same guy who was gonna draft railroad men into the army to break a strike. Now he wants us to work for nothing all over again? I already sent my absentee ballot.
Could I have your attention, please? Thank you. The leaders of the Democratic Party have read the polls, and they have told me that they do not want to throw good money away on a hopeless quest. So they have stopped paying for the train. Now, I don't care whether you vote for Harry Truman or not. That's not the issue here. What is important is that the president can take his case to the people and let the people make a choice. So with your help, I'm going to pass the hat, and let's see if we can keep this train running. All right? All right. I told my fellow party members that if Moses had waited on the polls, he'd still be waiting in Egypt.
Give him hell, Harry!
Well, I'm doing it. Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah? Roosevelt never had to beg like this. Roosevelt was a great man.
I'm here on a serious mission. And because it is so serious, I propose to speak to you as plainly as I can. You don't get any double talk from me. I'm either for something or against it. And you know it. You know what I stand for. I stand for a government of the people and not the special interests. I'm calling this trip a crusade. It's a crusade of the people against the special interests. And if you vote the Democratic ticket and back me up, we are going to win in November.
Turn around. Get a load of this crowd. They love it. Are you kidding? These rubes will come out to see a two-headed cat. Doesn't mean they'll vote for it.
Well, I don't give them hell. I just tell the truth on them, and they think it's hell. Right. You want to meet the boss? And the boss's boss?
You call me boss one more time, and I'm getting off this train no matter how fast it's going.
Yeah.
Truman seems to have some strength in the cities, the countryside, and suburbs where Governor Dewey has his strongest support are certain to go to the Republicans. In the latest blow to the president's hopes, Dr. Gallup has announced he will cancel further polling as he believes the outcome is already certain.
Clark.
Truman goes down to defeat and
Mrs. Truman.
Am I disturbing you?
No, not at all. Is anything the matter?
Well, do you really think Harry believes he's going to win?
Well, he certainly gives every appearance under every condition.
I think he's beaten. How does he keep going? Where does that come from?
What'll he do if he loses? What'll you both do?
Why, Clark, we'll go home.
the electorate goes to the polls in the widespread conviction that a Republican sweep is a certainty. All along, as we got in the country, the very strong lead.
Don't you want to hear the returns? I'm gonna have a ham sandwich and go to bed.
Very close race.
You wake me up, anything important happens.
Dewey is the winner. Counting of the vote has been very slow. Quiet jubilation is the mood at Dewey headquarters.
This is definitely a Republican year.
Has he heard the
Ladies and gentlemen, my father is not here, I promise. I do not know where he is.
Miss Truman, has he heard the early returns?
I'm sorry, I really don't know where he is.
Does he know he's been beaten, Miss Truman?
Late returns show Democrats alienated by Truman's policies returning to the fold in surprising numbers. The president is 1 million votes ahead in the popular vote. Could it be the tide is turning? Unbelievable if true. For the first time since 1916, the United States faces a country so evenly divided in a national election that no one knows, hours and hours after the polls have closed, who is to be the next president of the United States. Harry Truman has accomplished one of the political miracles of our times. In the face of national polls that were universal in predicting his defeat, he has come through triumphantly in his bid for the presidency of the United States in his own
At the car, Frank.
We got him beat.
Seen the morning paper, Mr. President?
Congratulations.
Do solemnly affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States. So help me God. On election night, I had my sandwich and a glass of buttermilk and went to bed about 6:30. And along about 12 o'clock, I woke up for some reason, and the radio was turned on the National Broadcasting Company. And Mr. Kaltenborn, Mr. Kaltenborn was saying, while the president is 1 million votes ahead in the popular vote, we are very sure that when the country vote comes in, Mr. Truman will be defeated by an overwhelming majority. Well, I'm sorry it didn't go that way. You're going to have to put up with me for another 4 years.
In exchange for lessons in ventriloquism.
I'm gonna sing on television and you won't even see me because you don't have a TV set.
Well, Mother Wallace believes what Fred Allen says about the television.
And don't hold with furniture that looks back at you.
Television's the future. Better get used to it.
Mr. President, Secretary of State Atchison is on the line.
Hang up. It's too late for the telephone.
I want you to go a day ahead to your concerts so you can check into your hotel.
And you get a good night's sleep before you have to sing, too.
Yes, Dean.
I gave him part of my supper last night and he growled at me. Oh, no. Are you trying to insinuate that my cooking isn't fit for a dog? Well, that's Einstein's theory.
How the hell did we let this happen?
There was absolutely no advance warning. The North Korean communists just swarmed over the border and the South Korean army ran away. We cannot let the communists take Korea the same way they took Czechoslovakia.
Well, by God, I'm going to draw the line. They're not going to get Korea by default because they think we're afraid to fight. When's MacArthur land in Korea?
It's on the move, sir.
This is page 1. General.
Thank you.
All right, my fellow Americans, I want to talk to you tonight about what our country is up against.
Mr. President, might it be better to say with than to? If you say talk to, it sounds like you're laying down the law a little bit.
Well, Dean, somebody's got to lay down the law around here some of the time. Some people confuse liberty and license. They think the country owes them nothing but privileges. And nobody's supposed to lay down the law about their responsibilities. I want to talk to MacArthur face to face.
After the communists' initial sneak attack that pushed our forces almost into the sea, our landing at Incheon, a military feat that will go down in history with Alexander's and Napoleon's, cut off the communists, forcing him into a disorganized retreat that ends with the body of his army outside the borders of his own country, in China.
Mr. President, is there any possibility the Chinese will come into the war?
None. Our boys will be home by Christmas.
General, our country is very fortunate that we had the right man at the right place and at the right time.
Boss don't like the son of a bitch.
You believe what you said back there? The Chinese will not attack.
We have beaten them for now.
Well, I want to be sure that Korea does not develop into World War III.
We are already in a worldwide war against the communists, sir. I am surprised you don't see it that way. Korea is the opening round.
I want Korea to be the closing round.
In the last war, I stood alone in the Pacific. The same men who saw that all our resources went to Europe then and left me to fight in the Pacific virtually unsupported surround you now. These same men now occupy the State Department and fill the highest posts in the Pentagon. I will not fail my duty here, sir, but I must know that I will not again be left to fight alone.
General, you have all the support you need now. You have my word for it.
Well, fine. May I smoke, sir?
Go right ahead. I expect I've had more smoke blown my way than any man alive. Dear Bess, had dinner by myself tonight. Barnett pulls out my chair. John brings me a tenderloin. Barnett brings me asparagus and beets. I ring. Barnett takes the plates. John comes in with a silver crumb tray. There are no crumbs, but he has to brush them anyway. I take a hand bath in the finger bowl. What a life.
Mr. President, the Chinese have invaded Korea.
They've crossed the border. The 10th Corps is destroyed. The 8th Army is in retreat. It's the worst military disaster in our history.
General MacArthur is giving press conferences saying that we've tied his hands, that he could win if we would only let him.
He is out of line. We should think about replacing him.
I don't think men running for their lives will be encouraged by firing their commander now in the middle of the battle. Give him all the help you can.
Judge Advocate General Leopold, who gave out the story, must be telling the truth. It's a disturbing thing. I think we should remember that those guilty of the atrocities are Atchison's agrarian reformer. This information might endanger...
One less nail in your coffin, Charlie.
Thanks. Are you singing the Mozart? Good, good. What else?
And Margaret says you better be at that concert tonight.
I'll be a little late. Got NBC coming to the press room. You hear what he's saying? When's Harry gonna do something about that so-and-so?
Ask Harry.
No, don't you be scared. No, you just hang up the phone and rest your voice, Miss Skinny.
Senator, we might
Yes.
make the Chinese communist mad. Now, why we should worry
All
about
right.
making someone mad
Bye-bye.
who is blowing the heads off our boys, I don't know. One hope which the free half of the world has is that Stalin doesn't
Turn that damn
trust
thing
his
off,
good
Charlie.
friends in the United States. He said, why, he doesn't even trust Dean Acheson.
You don't stop McCarthy now. Be like it was with Tom Pendergast.
What's that drunken liar got to do with Tom?
Nobody could make a move without asking, what'll Tom think? The day's coming when you won't be able to spit without somebody saying, what about Joe McCarthy? What'll Senator McCarthy think?
Well, nobody with a lick of common sense would believe a word he says.
Common sense got blown to hell when you dropped that bomb. Harry. I'm late. Save me a seat at the concert. Hurry it up, will you? I'm gonna miss the whole concert.
I think we're ready now, Mr. Ross. Nice and slow, okay? Don't mumble.
I always speak very distinctly.
Charlie Ross. Friend of my youth, who became a tower of strength when the responsibilities of high office so unexpectedly fell to me, is gone. Honesty and nobility of intent ordered his life from boyhood on. He saw that he hell, I can't read this. You fellas know how I feel anyway.
Margaret Truman, soprano, sang in Constitution Hall last night. She is extremely attractive on stage, yet Miss Truman cannot sing very well. She is flat a good deal of the time, more last night than at any time we have heard her in past years. There are a few moments in the recital when one can relax and feel confident that she'll make her goal, which is the end of the song.
Dear Sir, I just read your lousy review of Margaret's concert.
You sound like a frustrated old man. An 8-ulcer man on a 4-ulcer job and all 4 ulcers working.
I'm taking away his stamps. Charlie would have never have let this happen.
If I ever meet you, you'll need a new nose, a lot of beefsteak for black eyes, and perhaps a supporter below.
A prominent medical authority told me that Truman is afflicted by malignant hypertension, bewilderment, and confusion. I could see that at Wake Island when I looked him in the eye.
It's Christmas and our boys are still in Korea fighting bitter sub-zero cold as well as the Chinese.
War today. War in Korea, but the Korean War is merely a small phase of the great world war with atheistic communists. Why has this administration deliberately built up Russia? It was because of a combination of abysmal stupidity and treason.
From his headquarters in Korea, General MacArthur issues his own personal ultimatum to the Chinese communists.
He wants to drop 50 atomic bombs in Chinese cities, lay down a belt of radioactive waste along the North Korean border.
The man has gone mad.
He should be relieved.
I agree.
Well, maybe, but he doesn't have an atomic bomb, does he? I believe I still have those in my control. Just order him to keep his mouth shut.
Someone must take a stand. I personally am ready to meet with the Red Chinese at any time. The choice is theirs. Surrender or face extinction.
Does he think he's the president? He has crossed the line. I warned him. If he wants to show contempt for Harry Truman, he'll have plenty of company, but he will not show contempt for the President of the United States.
Let me do it, sir. I'll force him to resign.
No, he's not going to be allowed to quit. This is more than just a general falling in love with his press releases. This is a matter of who's the boss, the military or the people.
Good evening, Mr. President.
Evening.
Senator McCarthy has called for an emergency meeting of Congress, and Senate Republicans invited General MacArthur to address a joint session of Congress.
What right has your husband to fire the greatest general this country's ever had?
He is President of the United States, Mother. And if he wants to fire a general, he will.
General Prima Donna Brass Hat.
General MacArthur returns to a hero's welcome, while Truman, Atchison, and Marshall suffer a firestorm of criticism in the Senate, led by Senator McCarthy.
Mr. Truman says there's nothing wrong. He says, oh, everything is just fine. Truman actually said, if anyone hears of anything wrong, he said, get on the telephone. He said, call me collect.
We do not know where we're going in Korea. We do not know where we're going in China. MacArthur knows, and he's been fired.
Tragic mistake. That the American people cannot fire President Truman. Let Mr. Atchison and Mr. Truman go and retain the services of our fine General MacArthur.
Answer your telephone, Mr. Truman. Answer your telephone.
McCarthy's bullying, his lies, his slandering of innocent men is making it impossible to govern. Now, I've asked everyone to... So the Attorney General has talked to Hoover.
His FBI file. Names, dates, phone records, hotel rooms, drinking habits, every piece of tail. There's a letter in here from a young soldier the senator picked up in a men's room.
The president doesn't want to hear this.
You don't have to know anything about it. We'll just hand it off to some reporter.
You should have complete deniability.
What the hell kind of word is deniability? I'm just the man holding this office. If I dirty it, the dirt doesn't leave with me when I go. It stays here to rub off on whoever comes after me from now on.
I don't know, sir. It's a new world with new rules. I don't know if the old ways work. We believed in the truth.
Well, Dean, sooner or later, the truth will take care of McCarthy.
It's real high-minded, Mr. President. Fact is, he's tearing the Senate all to hell.
You protect your office. That's all fine. But who's going to protect the Congress? Who's going to protect the country? This is not going to stop by itself. This man will go on and on and on until you make the hard choice.
I made it, Clark. Can you live with it?
We'll all have to, Mr. President. Including you. Especially you.
This meeting is over, gentlemen.
President. Goodbye, Mr. President.
President?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Harry, I remember a long time ago you built some good roads for some people by letting Tom Pendergast boys steal. Harry, why don't you let me take these files?
Frank, you forget who you're talking to.
I'm sorry. Mr. President. Well, shit.
Mr. President, may I,
Dean?
Sir, I am McCarthy's main target. Because I would not turn my back on my friend Alger Hiss, I think I ought to resign. For your sake and for the good of the administration.
Because you were loyal to a friend? No, sir. You stay by me, and I will stay by you. Dear Bess, I will not be a candidate for re-election in 1952. I could. I've only had one term in my own right. But I've been in this whited sepulcher of man's hopes for 8 years. More than any man deserves or should endure, including the great Franklin Roosevelt. When this term is over, I am coming home for good. This time, you can believe me.
January 19th, 1953, 8:32 Eastern Standard Time. The President's farewell address.
Next Tuesday, General Eisenhower will be inaugurated as President of the United States. I will be on a train going home to Independence, Missouri, to become a plain citizen. Inauguration Day will be a great demonstration of the democratic process. I'm glad to be part of the peaceful transfer of the vast power of the presidency from my hands to his. There is no job like it on the face of the earth, and I want you all to realize how hard it is and to give Ike all the help he will need. The Cold War and the hot war in Korea will be great tests of his strength. How will the Cold War end? It will end someday. Because of the great weakness of the communist system. I have not a doubt in the world that a great change will occur. I have a deep and abiding faith in the destiny of free men. With patience and courage, we shall someday move on into a new era. When Franklin Roosevelt died, I thought there must be 1 million men better qualified than I to take up the presidential task. But the work was mine to do, and I had to do it. I did everything within my power, and always I knew I was not alone. You were working with me. And now the time has come for me to say good night. And God bless you all.
Excuse me. President-elect and Mrs. Eisenhower are in the car. If you'll follow me, please.
But they've been invited in for coffee before the ceremony.
Ma'am, the president-elect does not want to enter the White House until he is president. You'll follow me, please?
Yeah, wait a minute there. Don't they know that this is the tradition?
Don't get on your high horse, Harry. Take it easy.
Please, if you'll come with me.
Mrs. Truman has laid out a special spread here.
Oh, it doesn't matter, Harry.
Well, it does to me. I don't give a damn if he doesn't want to sit down with me, but to insult the First Lady this way?
Let it go, Harry.
Eisenhower didn't defend Marshall against McCarthy, and he knows he did wrong. To one of the truly great men of this century. I don't want to ride in a car with him. You tell him that.
Could you give us a minute? Can't see your lips. Now, you are not gonna do anything that keeps us here one more minute longer than we have to be. Now, come on.
What's funny?
For 40 years, every time I reach for this hand, it's always been there.
Let's go.
Dwight D. Eisenhower, do solemnly swear. I, Dwight D. Eisenhower, do solemnly swear. That you will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States. That I will faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States.
While I got the roar of the crowd, Harry and Bess went down to Union Station. Later, the president was going to have a big problem running red lights. He didn't have to stop for one for 8 years, and he got out of the habit.
They were going back to Independence to live once again in Grandmother Wallace's house. No Secret Service protection was provided. No reporters came.
His only income was his Army pension, $112.56 a month.
When Harry Truman left the White House, the polls showed an approval rating of only 32%.
Everything came late to him. A soldier at 33, my father at 40, a senator at 50, president at 60.
If we don't make a mistake, What a paradise we could make of this world